Thank you for joining, everybody. Hello and welcome. My name is Ilias and I'm from the marketing team here at BCS. Today we'll be talking about the upcoming changes to AEMO and in particular the upgrade for the MMS upgrade to 5.3. As I mentioned, my name is Ilias and I'm from the marketing team, and with me today I have Thorin, who is our extremely knowledgeable technical consultant working in the application space. Thorin's been working in the IT industry for over 15 years with over a decade of experience in SQL and Windows. How are you going today, Thorin?
Good. Excited to be here. Raring to go.
Beautiful. Today's presentation should last around 30 minutes with the presentation itself going for 20 minutes, and we'll leave 10 minutes at the end for questions. So a bit about us for those of you who are new to BCS. So at BCS, we're experts in the cloud, applications, database, and IT infrastructure since 2004. We empower organizations with cutting-edge technology to maximize security, efficiency, productivity, and growth. We harness our partner ecosystem. We're partners with AWS, Oracle, and Microsoft, and we work with you, your team, and your wider organization to deliver the best-of-breed IT solutions. A recording of this webinar will also be emailed to you after the presentation, so you have the luxury of seeing this presentation twice if you wish. But now let's get to why we're all here. So Thorin, what is AEMO and what is MMS?
Sure. AEMO is short for the Australian Energy Market Operator, and they basically manage the energy and gas market across the eastern seaboard from top of Queensland to the bottom of Tasmania, through across South Australia and everywhere in between. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of market data going back and forth between all the participants. So they provide that through a couple of tools. There is a batcher which reads all the data from a remote FTP location, and then a loader which digests that information and stores it in a database in what they call the MMS data model or schema. Occasionally, about every 6 to 12 months, AEMO releases an update to the data model. This has previously been done to increase the frequency of reports or to reduce the volume of reported data. So you've got a flow on then of minimizing the bandwidth used and the amount of storage you need in your database.
Yeah.
Normally, those releases are done through the release of some SQL built for a vanilla installation of Oracle or SQL Server, and they can just be run against your database at the client's discretion whenever suits them. On October 2023, AEMO announced that as part of the 5.3 upgrade, they'll be implementing the Integrated Energy Storage Solution. Storage systems. The ISS, it's a change to the registration and the classification and the bidding, designed to integrate storage systems and hybrid systems such as batteries into the National Energy Market or NEM. It introduces a new registration category called the Integrated Resource Provider or IRP, which allows aggregators of small generation storage units to provide ancillary services. That's been active since end of March last year. It ensures hybrid systems also use aggregate dispatch conformance or ADC, which has been since August last year. In short, it is a better way of integrating storage solutions, so not everything is treated like a generator that sucks in and pushes out energy. However, as part of the change, AEMO announced they would be modifying the way settlements and bidding are managed. So settlement tables will be adjusted for the unaccounted for energy amounts, or the UFEA, and participants who don't upgrade will not be able to reconcile the UFEA amounts. They're also changing so that the bidding participants won't be able to use the bidding and next day files due to a change in the primary key to add that direction field. So yeah, those are big changes.
Right. So that doesn't sound like the usual optional upgrade, though, is it?
No, it is not. Participants were warned that if they have not upgraded to the new 5.3 model by the hard cutover date of 2nd of June, that they'll be unable to reconcile settlements and billing, effectively preventing them from participating in the market.
Right. So what is BCS's role in all this?
So even under normal circumstances, a standard change, there's still quite a level of complexity. So I've said that AEMO release vanilla scripts, but most participants don't run a vanilla install of the MMS. They might have to change the name or run it in multiple locations or across multiple databases or a variety of different things. So we need to take those scripts and modify them for that. We also need to consider any grants or synonyms that would be client specific, or if there are linked views and tables that reference some of those modified tables, they also need to be incorporated. And AEMO doesn't release rollback scripts if something goes wrong and you need to step back to the 5.2 version for whatever reason. We have to develop those for the clients as well. We also handle the change management process, the communication to the parent companies, and the actual implementation of the code.
Right, and that's just for the standard install.
Absolutely, and that we ensure that all those changes take place in that 5-minute gap between data coming in, so that the clients see no impact on their production service for a standard change.
Right, okay. But the upgrade we're talking about today is a lot more complicated.
Very much so. So much so that AEMO have actually released extra steps in the process. The first of which of those was the Participant Development Support Environment, or PDSE.
Right.
The PDSE involved creation of a new standalone database with a linked batcher and loader to pull down a subset of data for early testing. And that happened in November last year, and BCS were there to help participants manage the new environment, negotiate the requirements for testing, and a lot of things came out of that initial testing. One of the things was the fact that to update the bidding tables with the new primary keys that they were planning to could not be done in that 5-minute gap that we would normally release.
Right, and why is that?
So it's simply way too much data. A single table could have 14 billion records in it. Each of those needs to be updated for the new primary key, pulled across into the new table. And we worked out that it would take an hour downtime per day of legacy data that we're pulling across, and some of those tables require 3 months worth of data. You can understand 90 hours without being able to participate or exchange data. That's just not acceptable outage.
Yeah.
So fortunately, AEMO responded to this by releasing some pre-release code that created duplicate tables, which would run in parallel for a period of time prior to the actual release. So if the client enacted these tables 3 months before the release, they would then have 3 months worth of data legacy set to go, and they wouldn't experience any outage come the actual cutover. Unfortunately, that means that all of the changes, all those modifications I talked about before that we have to do for the release scripts, we now have to do for the pre-release scripts, effectively doubling the workload without even considering the PDSE work involved in that. And there's been other surprise changes that have come out through the process. For example, earlier this month, AEMO announced that it would be changing the way it provided certain sets of data, cancelling the current way and forcing effectively participants to be using the new batches and loaders to receive that data. You can understand that would be a bit of a concern for some participants who now have 2 months to consider how they're going to make sure that data flow goes through to all of their systems. So we were there again to help them with that, inform them of it, and guide them through that process.
Right.
Where we are at the moment, 33 days from deadline.
Yep.
AEMO have released the final scripts earlier this month. So we're now preparing those production scripts for release to our clients, negotiating with their preliminary testing, then their verification testing for after the release. And for most clients, that means they're testing their downstream applications that pull that data back out of the database to make sure that the new flows, new table structures are still work with everything they've got going.
Right. So it sounds like we've been doing a lot in this space then.
Yeah, absolutely, sorry. And it's not just the technical support. Our clients rely on us to keep them up to date to those changes that come through, and that we're expected to be subject knowledge experts on those changes, and as much as possible on the impact of those changes to the clients.
Yeah.
A lot of the changes are so big that some of our clients have had to engage project managers specifically for this upgrade, and they've been then relying heavily on BCS knowledge for basically to make sure that nothing's missed, that everyone's on top of everything, and everything happens to the schedule. Nothing's overlooked. No one drops the ball.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, the clients are absolutely talented. They know what they're doing and so forth. We've just been told a number of times how much they rely on the BCS knowledge as that sort of safety net and security underneath that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Thorin. That was a bit of a whirlwind of information. Well, now I'll throw it over to the audience. Now it's time for questions. So if you have any questions, please, you can add them to the chat. We'll just wait a couple of minutes. So if there's any questions, we can see them. Well, while we're waiting, perhaps I'll do one of my own, Thorin. So how much interaction are we as BCS having with AEMO?
Oh, good question. So AEMO have daily stand-ups, particularly during the market trials, and we are attending those on behalf of the clients. Clients can also attend them themselves. We obviously have access to the portal to raise any defects that we encounter, any issues, ask any specific questions. So there's a regular close relationship there, one-on-one on at least a daily basis, ongoing.
Wow, good. All right. Well, any other questions? No. I've got a couple more for you then.
Sure.
So you mentioned working with project managers. What does the day-to-day look like for that?
Okay, so I've worked as a project manager before, and a project manager tends to need a high-level view and doesn't want to get bogged down in all the technical details. So we take on board that load, all the nitty-gritty, so they can focus on the things that they're really good at, making sure things happen at a timeline, sign-offs happen when they're supposed to happen, and all that sort of stuff. The budget's where it needs to be, and we handle all the data flow, understanding. Obviously, we provide as much of that as they ask for when they ask for it, so they've got a good window on that. But we do all the stuff they don't need to do, so they can focus on what they're good at.
Yeah, exactly right. So what does it look like if there is no project manager?
But simply, we take on as much of that load as the client doesn't have capacity to do. So if that means managing the whole thing, then we will just do the whole thing. We'll do all the change management, we'll do all the communication with the client, as we said before, and implement the code, contact the traders to make sure that none of what we're doing is impacting on any of the production environment as it's happening. We just basically take on that, as much of that as our clients need us to do.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Thorin. I can see there isn't any questions in the chat, so
it's obviously so conclusive. Yeah, such a brilliant explanation.
Yeah, that's a great sign. That's a great sign.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for joining everybody in the audience. If you'd like to hear more about our AEMO services, please feel free to contact us today. You can also feel free to have a look at our social medias on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as our website. And that obviously includes as Thorin mentioned, the 24/7 monitoring of Blue Diamond. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please reach out to us today. You will also be sent a recording of this presentation. So like I said at the start, you can use that to your heart's content. Thank you, Thorin, for presenting, and thank you everybody for joining. We'll see you at the next one.